All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Rakha Kodash, double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. I have a couple of articles here, okay, and I'm just going to basically just read a little bit on it. Okay, the first one here is concerning Hong Kong, okay, and it says here, Hong Kong will put all travelers from mainland China under 2-week quarantine after unveiling electronic tags to track people in isolation. Okay. And so basically what they're trying to do is which this is just, another step closer to that mark of the beast. All right. The RFID microchip. Okay. But they're basically saying because of this quarantine, all right, or because of this disease outbreak, they're trying to make sure that they monitor, all right, everybody who has been confirmed or recorded to have this disease or to be in isolation or quarantine, all right, to prevent the spread of this disease, which is an excuse, okay, for them to put this tag on you, all right, to track you, all right. And don't be surprised if they come out and say, well, now we have a vaccine and the chip is in the vaccine, so we can know who has the vaccine and who doesn't, and so on and so forth, all that stuff. But because they do it in the name of safety. All right. But it says here, all people entering Hong Kong from the mainland are required to be isolated. Whoa. All right. All people entering Hong Kong from the mainland, all right, are required to be isolated. So anybody who's coming into Hong Kong is going to have to be isolated for what, 2 weeks, 14 days. All right. And they're going to have that tag on them. All right. To make sure that they're not, because if there's certain parts in Hong Kong that are not affected, they're not just going to let you in there without knowing whether you have the disease or not, especially if you just came from China. So they have to isolate you. But what's to keep people from not breaking that rule or that requirement? They have to now track you and see where you are, what you're doing. Are you following the precautions? All right. Because they don't want you going around infecting people. All right. if you might potentially have the virus. It says the city prepared 500 electronic wristbands to monitor those in quarantine. Cathay Pacific today asked its staff to take up to 3 weeks of unpaid leave. Damn, unpaid leave. Look at that. Over 1,800 people are being tested for coronavirus on a cruise ship in the city. All right, that's 1,800 people, man. Coronavirus, and if they find even 1, 2, or 3 of them to have tested positive, I mean, that's that who else? I mean, because they're on a cruise ship, and a cruise ship is only so big. So if one person has it, and they maybe might have touched something after they touched any fluids in them or anything of that sort, how big is this ship? This that big. Yeah, cruise ships are pretty big, but it's not that big to the point where if one person is in one area and he's infected, there's majority of the whole ship has probably been in that same area continuously without even knowing. It says, coronavirus death toll continues to soar at least 493 people have been killed. Okay. Okay, let me read a little bit on this. It says, Hong Kong's leader has said that all people entering the semi-autonomous territory from the mainland, including Hong Kong residents, will be required to undergo 14 days of quarantine because of the outbreak of the new strain of coronavirus. It says the news came after the city's government unveiled 500 electronic monitoring tags, which would be used to track those placed under home quarantine. Okay. And when the more grave the situation gets, the more the bolder they are to come out with certain measures, as they will call precautionary measures, to keep people safe. All right. It says Cathay Pacific, Hong Kong's flagship carrier, today asked its 27,000 employees to take up to 3 weeks of unpaid leave as the airline faces a crisis in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak. In addition, more than 1,800 people are being tested for coronavirus on a cruise ship in Hong Kong after some crew members reported fever. Oh boy. All right. Look at him. Look at him. Man, this guy looks stressed. All right, let me see. Do they have anything else here? Because I believe in another article or so they mentioned how if you try to take off, look at it. I think that's the wristband right there. This website is just moving a little slow. All right, that's the wristband right there. So apparently, what it does is it's connected to your phone. So if you take it off, all right, you see how electronic that is? If you take it off, they get an alert, all right, which alerts the officials, all right, and you can be put in jail for up to 6 months or so, and you get fined, okay, about like $600, okay, just for taking it off or leaving the vicinity, okay. So that's all I'm gonna read on this article. And then moving on, I have another article. Salaki, if the screen is a little blurry, it does that sometimes. I don't, I can't really control that part. But we're gonna move to the next article. All right, here it says this is from RT News. It says U.S. Space Force conducts first ICBM launch after Moscow warned of threat of renewed arms race. Okay, and the U.S. Space Force is that additional force that or the additional military branch that Trump, all right, basically pushed for, and they established it, which we understand that this is because it says they launched their first ICBM, which is intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay, we understand that at the end there is going to be a third world war, okay, the war of Armageddon, which is going to be between these nations. All right, Russia, Iran, China, okay, the US, NATO, the EU countries. All right. But at the end of the day, okay, they're ultimately going to turn their focus onto Yahushua, the Messiah, when he comes back. Okay. And so this whole Space Force and all that really ultimately is to fight against the Lord and the angels when they return. Okay. And that's according to the scriptures, man. All right. But I don't really need to read this whole article. You basically get the point, all right, from the headline, which you can just go on RT News. It should be one of the news topics on there for today. U.S. Space Force conducts first ICBM launch after Moscow warned of threat of renewed arms race, which there's been an arms race going on already. It's not just starting. Okay, if you look at the arsenal Russia has now, man, all right, and they're sharing it, so it's not anything, anything new. Okay, but this thing is getting a little blurry, so I'm just gonna cut the screen share and I'll read the scriptures off my phone. All right. Okay, boom. So first we'll get Revelation 13. All right, which dealing with the tag, we understand that ultimately what's that leading to? That's leading to that chip. Okay, the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast. All right, and believe it or not, yes, there's gonna come a time where they're gonna present that to you. Regardless of how they're gonna do it, whether they're gonna say it's through vaccines or whatever means they're gonna do it from, they're gonna bring it, and you're gonna be faced with it. All right, as to are you gonna take it or not? And a lot of people, hey, it's gonna be. It might sound trivial because we keep mentioning it and talking about it over and over again. But for a lot of people, they're going to be in that state of not knowing what to do. Okay. But the Lord said for his elect, he's going to put a spirit upon you that you're going to be able to resist and be delivered from that hour of temptation. All right. Which is the time when they make that chip mandatory. Okay. So like that article I just brought out is just another step closer. All right. To that time of making that chip mandatory. So this is Revelation chapter 13. I'll start at verse 9. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. Now, this isn't talking about a physical ear, but actually your spiritual ears. All right. So like, let me try this again to see if I can see if maybe it won't be as blurry this time. Okay. Okay, I just got a breaking news. Says Syria air defense has responded to an Israeli attack near Damascus. State news agency Sana said. So, man, and what there was a you had that whole impeachment thing with Trump, which we said it. The dude got acquitted. They were not going to impeach this guy. Okay, the Senate was not going to vote him out of office. That's not going to happen. That's like if you committed murder and your family members are the ones who decide whether you go to jail or not. Your grandma ain't going to tell you ain't going to boom boom send him to jail. You know. So let's get back into that Revelation 13. But hey, things are happening, man. All right, you see the earthquakes are happening now. Now, when these earthquakes and stuff happen, it's not even like it's a big news anymore because of how frequently it's happening, especially the ones that are being reported and recorded. All right. So back in Revelation 13, verse 9, if any man have an ear, let him hear. This is talking about your spiritual ears. All right, to be able to understand. All right, the words that are being spoken. Okay, not your physical ears, because damn near everybody has an ear. All right. But if you have the ears to hear the truth, okay, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And captivity is what? Slavery and oppression. Okay. And who primarily led into captivity? Who? Esau. All right. These Edomites. All right. The so-called Caucasian race. They led us, the Israelites, into captivity. Okay. There's records on that. There's movies on that. Roots. Okay, 12 years a slave. All right, all these movies even are documented to as proof against Esau, and we're still in captivity this day. It says, "He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword." Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. All right, so just as it was done to us, the scriptures say, "We shall devour all they that devoured us." All right, but that's going to be when the Lord, all right, sets the time right. Verse 11, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Now, you got to understand that here John said, what? I beheld another beast, okay? Which this other beast, all right, is referring on to now, today, all right, NATO and the EU, okay, with America, sitting on top, but really as a whole, it's Esau's system, because back then, that first beast being the pagan Roman Empire, that was still Esau's rulership, Esau's system, which just came back today, all right, just under different names, okay? But it says here, and he had two horns like a lamb, all right, and that represents the today they're known as the Democrats and the Republicans, okay, which when you go back to ancient Rome, they were known as the plebeians and the patricians. And yesterday I heard on the news, I think it was Nancy Pelosi or whoever it was, some lady, all right, she was all out there, I guess, pitching her case, to the audience of the people, and I think she was on the Democratic side, talking about, how they want to make life better and fair and good for the lower classes, and the rich shouldn't always be getting these benefits and low taxes and all these things, which that's the same thing that was happening back in ancient Rome. All right, the aristocrats or the rich families were the patricians, okay, and then the regular common class or the low class were the plebeians, okay. So today the plebeians would be the Democrats and the patricians would be the Republicans, okay. Now it says two, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon, because what you'll hear them say, all right, regardless of what party they're supporting or what party they're on, whenever they come up on their podium or they come up to try and win a state or win votes, well, they sound like a lamb. They come like they're humble, I want to make America this. I want to make college free. I want to make sure that everybody has a, and then they come with the examples, and there was this boy that I met and he was going through this, and I want to change that, and the future I see for us, we're not going to have that. All nice and sweet. But when they get into office, it's the same puppet, because at the end of the day, what they do is not what they want. They do what they're told. So he spake as a dragon, because the laws they put in place and the things that they actually do is not like they said they would do. All right. All they do is make your oppression worse. Okay. You only got to work harder. They might come and tell you, um, minimum wage is going to go up from $13 to $15. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're making more money, because then everything else is going up. Inflation is getting worse. So you're paying the same amount. All right. If not, rent is going to go up. Okay. Grocery bills are going to go up. Taxes are going to go up. So even if your pay goes up, it evens out. All right. Verse 12. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him. All right. And that's why even historians will say, when they look at America, all right, and they look at the power structure and the system today, it's like an exact replica of Rome. Okay, like it says, he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, the first beast being Rome, all right, the Roman Empire, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. How did they do that? By basically enacting everything that was back there in Rome in this society. So if you're down with the system today, you're down with the system that was there back then. Okay, whose deadly wound was healed, because Rome went down. All right. Basically, when Rome fell, when Esau, all right, or I should say Edomite Rome, all right, went down, okay, they came back up into power, all right, right around the Renaissance era, okay, and they started working from there, and now you have them today, okay, as who they are today, all right. It says, verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Okay, and then a good example of that is when you go to I believe it was after Pearl Harbor, when the U.S. dropped those bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I think it was Little Man and Fat Boy or something like that. Okay, they also dropped Moab, mother of all bombs. Okay, that's fire coming from heaven. Okay, heaven meaning up there, yeah, the air. That's what they did. Okay. When they dropped it on them, they didn't care whether they were civilians. They didn't care if it was babies and children. They just dropped it on them. Okay, because ultimately they weren't doing that as revenge for Pearl Harbor. They were doing that to test out their new bomb. Okay, all right. Yep, that's right. Shalom. Ithanaya ban lavaya. The wicked are estranged from the womb. Speaking lies. Yep, exactly. Beautiful precept. I think that's Psalms 58 or 53. Revelation 13 and 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast which had the wound by a sword and did live. All right, and that image is that Roman system. Okay, being enacted back here again today, like I gave you the example. See what people have today. All right, what's called democracy and the Western way of living is not new. Okay, it's the same thing they were doing back then. You have a Senate. All right, you have a president. You have a Democrats and a Republic. Okay, Democrats and Republicans. Okay, you have the even the language Latin. All right. When you look at your different body parts, okay, they named after Latin words, latissimus dorsi, all these different names. Okay. If you really study there's a book called R.E. Rome, all right, which focuses on the similarities, all right, between America and the ancient Roman Empire. You have Colosseums, which was back then. Today you have stadiums. All right. You had amphitheaters. Today, if you go to the Yankee Stadium is a perfect example of an amphitheater. Okay, you have theaters. all right, which they had plays and stuff there. They do the same thing today. You have movie theaters, you have regular theaters where you go and have the play. The whole concept of the movie theater, how it goes back and then it expands, everything goes back there. Okay. Going on at verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life onto the image of the beast, because now that they brought that system back, okay, now they gave it life. So they made it the way of life, the way of living now. Okay. It says that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Okay. And that ultimately goes into those who are not down with the system. But even when they go to other nations and other countries and they present their way of life and their democracy and their westernization, if you say as a leader, as a president or whatever, nah, we're a sovereign country, we're not down with that, we don't want to form an alliance, we don't want to join your system, we don't want to live like you, you know what they're gonna do? They're gonna assassinate your ass, eliminate your ass, frame you to say that you're doing wicked things in your country, frame you, take you out of power and set up a puppet king in there, or a puppet ruler, or a puppet president, or whatever in there. Okay. And it's the same thing. You're not down with this system, guess what? They're gonna take you out, whether you're a celebrity, okay, or you a common person. Because wait till they make that chip mandatory, man. That's gonna be the ultimate test of are you down with the system or not. Because if you deny it, you know what they're gonna call you? They're gonna call you a terrorist, and they're gonna call you an enemy of the state, meaning you're not down with this image, you're not down with this system, you're not down with the way of life. The way of life now tells you you have to have a microchip in your body. That's how you're gonna buy and sell. You don't want to take that? Okay, so you against the state, you an enemy of the state. What do you have to hide? Why don't you want to take that? You know? And ultimately they're gonna put you to death. Okay? Because they're gonna find some reason, some justification to justify them putting those who don't have the chip to death. All right. Verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Now that word mark, as we've gone over, I don't know how many times, in the Greek is charagma, which is an incision. Okay, a thing inserted. Okay, which we know today as that RFID microchip. And that's they're gonna bring it to everybody, man. It's not gonna be just a specific portion of people. No, you're gonna know when that hour of temptation is here, because they're gonna bring it to everybody. All right, from your kids to your newborn babies, okay, to old people in nursing homes, to people in jail, to you walking down the average street, regular 9-to-5 workers, to politicians. They're gonna bring it to everybody. Okay, it says oh, what's that? New case of coronavirus in Wisconsin. Yep, that's it. And what's interesting, and I'm gonna come back to the scripture, but what's interesting is that they're not. If you looking on the news, they're not making a big deal out of it like that. You know, they're not panicking. Oh my gosh, this is a virus. We don't even have a vaccine, and look, it's spreading like no. It's as though they're sort of like just keeping it low key, letting it do its thing, to where it gets to the point where it's so bad. And then that's when they bring out the panic. Oh, the numbers just went from 400 to now they're saying it's actually somewhere along the 50,000, hundreds of thousands. Okay. Once that panic is sparked in people and that fear reaches its peak, then they can bring their solution. Well, it's this bad, but there is a way that we can keep it protected. There's a way that you can be safe. You can be, and that's when what people are all ears. People are willing to listen. So now they have your control. They can control you. All right. So they want to wait till it gets to the peak of being bad. All right. And you're scared, not knowing what to do. Then they can come out as the saviors. They can come out and say, well, this is what's going on. And these are the precautions. Now, along with that, they can declare state of emergency. They can say it's so bad, because if they were to do it right now, it's still not as bad. So certain things they want to do, they can't, because we're not in a state of complete and total chaos and anarchy. But if they wait till it gets so bad that they can just say, listen, it's getting so bad, we need to shut down the borders, we need to shut down the airports, shut down the cities. All right. We need mandatory vaccinations so it doesn't spread. But along with those vaccines come microchips, so you have to take it because it's mandatory. They can do that because now it's so bad that they can say, all right, what you say doesn't matter now. We're in control now because this is for your safety. All right. So going on, Revelation 17 and 13 and 17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right, which that's if you look at a UPC, a universal product code, all right, within that universal product code, regardless of the different, and you look at the barcode of any product, you'll see different numbers in there. But if you look closely, they're the beginning bars. There are certain bars that are longer than the rest, and that's at the beginning, the middle, and the end. All right, and when you break it down, the computer, when that computer scans that any barcode, that's why it's called a universal product code. Any barcode, all right, that it scans, it starts reading it with a number 6. Then it reads the rest of the numbers, and it reads another 6 at the center, and then reads the rest of the numbers, and then it finishes with another 6. All right, which is 603 scoring 6. A score is 20. 3 times 20 is 6 or 60. All right, so 600, 60, and 6. That's 666. All right, and if you look at the countries that use that universal product code, is the countries that make up that beast. Okay, so reading that article concerning the electronic tags that they're trying to use to monitor people, all right, who are going to be quarantined, that's what they do, is they desensitize you. You know, they bring it slowly but surely, slowly but surely, slowly but surely. Because if they bring it right away, you're going to notice. But they bring it slowly but surely, they're presenting it to you. Okay, now we're trying to get into the minds of them that this virus is getting so bad, we can tie in, you know, some way of tracking you, some tag we can use to identify and track who has it and who doesn't. All right, let's get them comfortable with that. Okay, soon, now we're going to say, well, there's a problem with these tags because people are still taking them off regardless. So we need to come up with a tag that they can't take off, something that we can still track you with and check your vitals, but you can't take off. Maybe something we could possibly insert into your hand or your body. You know, Esau. That's why the scriptures say we're not ignorant of his devices, because that's how they move. All right, they're very slick and patient. All right, with their agenda. All right, because they want a complete complete control, man. Okay, now like the second article that I read going into the ICBM, all right, that the U.S. Space Force launched. Guess what, man? Let me get a what's the next piece of the hat here? All right, that's all biblical prophecy. See, when we see these articles and see these signs, all right, it's just a more confirmation, all right, of the scriptures. Okay, because this is what's been written to happen. All right, so when we see these things, we know the direction is going in already. All right, this is Joel 3 verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this, because the article mentioned an arms race. And an arms race is basically a preparation for war. Why is the U.S. Space Force testing an intercontinental ballistic missile? Why are you testing it out? All right, that's like a boxer who hasn't boxed for like a year or two, and out of nowhere you see him back in the gym. The first thing you're thinking of is, what is he? He's getting ready for a fight, because now he's conditioning himself. All right, he's hitting the punching bag. Okay, he's hitting the speed bag. He's going on a diet. You know, he's doing his running. All these things. You're like, why is he doing all that? Clearly, there must be a fight coming up, because if not, there'll be no need for that. Especially if you ain't boxed in a whole year. So if the U.S. is now testing their missiles and all these things, along with other countries testing their missiles, it's not just for show. All right, because it's not like you can just run on there and say, okay, all right, today I feel like testing this missile. So get your stuff together. I'll meet you at 3 p.m. and you press a couple buttons and then that's it. No. All right. This is Joel 3 verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. All right. Because just like the ancient world, when there was war, you bring your army, your enemy brings their army, and you guys meet at the battleground. All right, and that's when you have that war. So what's the Lord doing? That's why he's making that Middle East area so hot. He's making it like a vortex, because that's going to be that battleground to drag these nations there, all right, to have that war. All right, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. All right, what does this mean? This means when these countries, all right, every little chance they get, they're turning, all right, or they're creating an arsenal, a strong arsenal. All right, they're not worried about agriculture. They're not worried about any of that. The number one priority is getting their nuclear arsenal, all right, or weaponry up. Okay, because they know that the time is coming when it's going to need to be used either to attack or to defend. It says, let the weak say I'm strong. All right. How are the weak going to say they're strong? How is a weak nation going to speak so proudly if they have their hands on a nuclear missile? If they have their hands on a weapon that's as deadly as yours? Okay. If you see a nerd who's all scrawny and out of nowhere he starts talking crazy, then you know that he has something. He has a trump card. He has something in his pocket that he can use. That's why he's talking so boldly. Okay, because in his mind, he has something he can rely on. All right. So these nations, all right, even these smaller countries that are getting their hands on the technology to make these different missiles, all right, are now being able to talk back and speak as though they're some hot shit, basically. All right, verse 11, assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Okay, so the Lord right here, as we're reading, is the preparation of the battle. And the Lord has the angels behind the scenes, all right, pulling the strings, okay, and setting up, all right, the battle, man, causing it to heat up and heat up. Verse 12, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, all right, or Yahweh Shaphat, which is the Lord's judgment, because that's where, well, let's read it. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Okay, that's where that ultimate judgment is going to happen, man. Okay, now from there, let's go to Revelation 19 verse 11. All right, because what's going to happen? You're going to have that world war start between these nations, but in the midst of that war, what's going to happen? The Lord is going to come, because the Lord ain't going to let them have all the fun. The Yahweh Shai is going to come back. And he's eager to get here, man. So he's going to come back, and then they're all going to stop, and they're all going to try and fight against him. Why? Because they're going to have a common enemy. They're going to say, well, I'm going to war with you, and him and all that. We're going to war with each other, but we're not going to have, because I'm going to war to conquer you so I can be the next superpower. I can rule. But if we allow him or them aliens, quote unquote, to come and take over, none of us are going to have anything to rule. By the time they're done with this place, ain't nothing going to be left for any of us. So let's put our war on hold and let's unite our armies to fight against an even bigger threat, because them, Yahweh Shai and the angels, are a bigger threat to these nations than each other. So they'll be like, let's put this on hold and let's deal with them first. All right. And then after the dust is settled, we can focus on whatever it is that's next. But the thing that they miscalculated, the thing they fail to understand is that when Yahweh Shai comes back with the angels, it's a wrap. That's it. It's over. It's through. Game over. Put the controller down, disconnect the system, and just go take a nap somewhere, because you don't stand a chance. And we're going to read it. This is Revelation 19 and 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness doth he judge and make war. And this is talking about Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ. It's talking about him. And that white horse is not a literal white horse. All right, you ain't going to see Yahweh Shai come back, yeehaw, on a white horse. No. All right, this is talking about his chariot. All right, because white represents purity and horse represents power. Hence, you have the term horsepower. Okay, horses represent might and power. It says here, verse 12, his eyes were as a flame of fire. All right, and that's how you know it's talking about Yahweh Shai, because Revelation, the first chapter, all right, around the 13th verse on down, describes the Lord, and it tells you that his eyes were as a flame of fire. It says, and on his head were many crowns, and he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Why do he have many crowns on his head? Because when he comes, he's going to take down all these nations, all these governments, and he's going to be that main ruler. All right. It says, and he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. All right. And it tells you that in the book of John. Who's the Word? The Word is Yahushua. Verse 14, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which are chariots, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Now let's get a precept on that. All right. Because it says the armies. Who are the armies? The angels. Okay. Psalms, I think it's 68 and 11. So we're going to find out who these armies are. No, it's not 11. Is it 17? Yep. 68 and 17. It says the chariots of the Most High are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai in the holy place. So when he comes back, the Lord is coming back with the host of heaven. All right. Revelation 19 and 14. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which are chariots, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. All right. And this isn't talking about the Yahushua is going to pull out like a magic guy. He's going to pull out a whole two-edged sword out of his mouth. Okay. And he's going to jump out his chariot like that in slow motion, and then just come slice some heads off. No. All right. This is referring on to those laser beams that is going to be coming out of his chariot. Okay. Which it tells you that in Second Esdras. And also, just get this real quick. All right, because when Yahushua comes back, see, it's not just the missiles that are going to be destroying this place. The chariots are also going to be taking part in destroying this place. All right, I spelled that wrong. All right, the chariots are also going to be, as they're delivering the elect, they're also going to be casting judgment on this place, man. All right, this is Habakkuk 3, verse 2. O Lord, I have heard thy speech and was afraid. O Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, revive thy work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make known. In wrath, remember mercy. Why is Habakkuk saying that? Because that's how bad it's going to get, man. Okay? And if not by the mercy of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, there will be none righteous, none that exist. Because everything will be done. Okay? The fact that the Lord has a remnant that are going to be saved is mercy. All right. But verse 3, the Most High, or God, came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran. Now, when you read Isaiah the 60, I believe the 63rd or the 66th chapter, it tells you who is this that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra. That's Yahushua. Okay. It says, God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Salah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. Okay. And when you read, which I'm going to get, when you read in the Apocrypha in Second Esdras, the 13th chapter, Ezra said how big the Lord's chariot was, that it was like a mountain, that he couldn't see from one end of the chariot to the other. Okay. And it's literally going to black out the sun. You're going to see a nice big chariot just pull up. Okay. And just park right here on the earth. And everybody's going to see it. That's why it says every eye shall see him, because you're going to stop whatever you're doing. You're going to wonder why there's a shadow coming that's so big that you're going to just have to look up. Oh, shoot. You're going to tap your friend. Oh, yo, look at that. You're going to see other chariots coming out. Then you're like, all right, what's going on? And then the laser beams come, and that's when you're going to know, oh, shoot. They're not here to talk. They're not here to have fun. Well, they're here to have fun, but they're not here, all right, to come sit down and be diplomatic with us. All right. Verse 4, it says, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. And those horns represent the laser beams that are coming out of the Lord's chariots. All right, because let's look that up. When you look the word horns in the Hebrew, what's that? Quaran. All right. It says here, horn of strength, but we're going to go to F of rays of light. Okay. And what is a laser beam? A laser beam is a projection of light. All right. Because that's the same thing with fire. Fire is light, but it's a special kind of light that's just concentrated. It's concentrated heat. Okay. That is so hot and so dangerous that it can literally disintegrate you. Okay. So those horns, all right, represent the laser beams that are going to be coming from the Lord's chariot. Because when he comes down, like we said, man, like the scriptures say, the slain of the Lord shall be many. Okay. So Revelation 19:15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. You can read about that in Psalms 2 and 8, or Psalms the 2nd chapter. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty. Isaiah 60. Let me just pull it up. Isaiah 63. I think it's Isaiah 63. I spelled that wrong. And A. All right, because we just mentioned how he treadeth the winepress. Well, let's get a precept on that. Yep, Isaiah 63:1. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Now let's go back up. We're gonna come back. But Revelation 19:11 says what? And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness doth he judge and make war. So who is that? That's the same person Isaiah saw in his vision. All right. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? Because why is it focused on Edom so much? Because Edom, all right, or Esau is the power structure right now on the earth. So when the Lord comes, Esau is that number one enemy that has to go down. Okay, that's why the beast is going to be destroyed, because the beast is ruled by Edomites. All right, it says because that's their power structure. It says, this that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength, that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? I have trodden in the winepress alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I would tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain on my raiment. So as we go back to Revelation 19, matter of fact, I'll read 13 again. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name was called the Word of God. Well, we just read that in Isaiah 63. Now jumping down to verse 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he should rule them with a rod of iron. Psalms the 2nd chapter. And he that treadeth in the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of the Almighty God. Back to Isaiah 63. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? Verse 3, I have trodden the winepress alone. All right. So back to Revelation 19. Who is that talking about? Yahushua. All right. And when he makes his second return, he's not going to come like he came 2,000 years ago. He says, I shall not meet thee as a man. Okay. Verse 16. And he had on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All right. Which would be Malak Shal Malakim Wa Adawan Shal Adawanyam. Okay. King of Kings and Lord of Lords. It says, and I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together onto the supper of the great power. Okay, so guess what, man? The Lord promised these birds a feast. Verse 18, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and of the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. It says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Why were they gathered together? Let's go back to Joel, the third chapter. All right, starting at the 9th verse. Joel 3, verse 11. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and what? And gather yourselves together round about. Back to Revelation 19. It says what? Verse 19. And I saw the beast, which is NATO, the EU, all right, with America on top, and the kings of the earth, all right, because you have other nations that are not a part of the EU, okay, or NATO, like Russia, okay, and Iran. It says, and their armies gathered together. Why? Because the Lord had gathered them together to come to war. But when the Lord came, they were already gathered together. So what did they say? To make war against him that sat on the horse, which is Yahushua, and against his army, which are the angels. Now, let's get a precept on that. Revelation chapter 12, verse 7. All right. And that's why the scriptures tell you, you got to read it line upon line, here a little and there a little. Okay. Precept upon precept. That's how you understand the scriptures. Okay. Revelation 12, verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Okay. Let's go back to Revelation 19. It says here, I'm going to just read the point, 19, verse 19. And they were gathered together to make war. All right. Where are they going to make that war? They're going to make that war in the heavens, because the chariots are not going to come on the ground. They're not going to come with wheels like planes and just do a nice little parking, a 3-point turn and you know, parallel park. No, they come in the air. Okay. So it says to make war against them. Where are they going to have that war? That's why they have a space force. Okay. Revelation 12, verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, okay, and the dragon fought and his angels, which that dragon also is referring on to, like we read here, that beast, okay, and the kings of the earth, okay. So that's we're reading right there, man. It's all right there, Revelation 12 and 7. So they're gonna have that war because Yahushua is gonna come. Michael's gonna be here, and the rest of the angels. All right. Verse 8, and prevailed not. So they had the war, but they prevailed not. So regardless of their technology, regardless of their resources, regardless of all the scientists and nuclear arsenal they have, they're not going to win against the Lord and the angels. All right. Neither was their place found anymore in heaven. Why? Because they got wiped out. Okay. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan. All right. It's all talking about Esau. These are all names for Esau. Okay. Which deceiveth the whole world. Job 9 and 24. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Okay. Christians would like to use this to justify spiritual demon Satan trying to uptake the Most High in the spirit world, and Lord just like slapped him, and then, you know, he lost his sense of flying, and he just fell to the earth. No, that's not what it's talking about. Okay. But as we just read here, man, that's what's going to happen. So at the end of the day, whoa, before I forget, let me pull this up. Okay. Because it says their armies were gathered, right? Let's see what they were gathered to do. Because we got a precept in Revelation 12 and 7. All right. But to really get that cherry on top, the icing on the cake, we got to go to 2nd Esdras. All right. The 13th chapter. I'll see where I'll start. All right. And these are all things that haven't happened yet. Okay. So just as we're reading it, it's going to happen, and it's going to be crazy, man. Imagine seeing the effects, visualizing all of this, seeing it happen, man. It's going to be a hell of a time, man. All right. 2nd Esdras 13. Man, let's see. I'll start at verse 2, and I'm not going to read through the whole thing. We'll see. All right, verse 2. And lo, there arose a wind from the sea that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. Same thing we read in Revelation 19. Where are we? Revelation 19 and 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of God. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, which are chariots, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. Second Ezra 13 and 3. And I beheld, and lo, that man waxed strong. That man is the same man we're reading of in Revelation 19. That's Yahushai, the Messiah. It says, wax strong with the thousands of heaven, which are the angels. And when he turned his countenance to look, all things trembled that were seen under him. All right. Because when people see those chariots, all right, and they see what them chariots can do, it's going to be very scary. Okay. Let's put it like that. It's going to be very, very scary. All right. They're going to be very fearful. It says, and whensoever the voice, whensoever the voice went over, I'm a little excited, went out of his mouth. And that's how you know it's not talking about his literal voice, because just like we read in Revelation 19, where was it? And out, verse 15, and out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword. What happens when you open your mouth? What happens? I'm opening my mouth right now. What are you hearing? You're hearing my voice. Okay. But we understand that it's not talking about his literal voice. How Shai ain't going to be singing an opera and people are going to be bursting into flames from hearing that. No, that's talking about the laser beams from his chariot. When you watch, I think it was Independence Day or so, one of those movies, I think the chariot comes on top of maybe the Empire State Building, and then the bottom of it opens up like a mouth. Okay, and all you see is a concentrated heat, all right, in the form of a laser beam, just shoots down and just destroys that building, man. Okay, it says at verse 4, and whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all they burned that heard his voice, like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire, because though that voice was concentrated fire, and that's why they burned. What is burning an effect of? Fire or heat. Okay. After this, and it says what? Like as the earth faileth when it feeleth the fire, because what happens if you were to burn the lawn, all you would have left is ashes, smoke and ashes. All right. It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. We're going to jump right back to Revelation 19. Where was it? Revelation 19 and 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together from where? The four winds, to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. Back to 2 Ezra 13 and 5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. All right, which is talking about the Lord coming from the heavens. All right, verse 6, and I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it, which is talking about his chariot. In Revelation 19, it refers to it as a white horse. Now it's talking about it as a great mountain. Verse 7, but I would have seen the region or the place where out the hill was graven, and I could not, because it was so big, he couldn't see the ends of the chariot. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight. Because when they see that, they're going to realize they don't stand a chance. But the Most High is going to put the spirit on them to still fight, just like he hardened Pharaoh's heart. To even after seeing the power of the Lord, and he wanted to let them go, the Lord hardened his heart so he wouldn't. Why? So the Lord's power could be magnified. So in this time, the Lord is going to make them fight so that it can be more, the story can be more intense. Okay. Verse 9, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, so as they loaded up their guns, everybody got aimed up and everything. He neither lifted up his hand, nor held sword, nor any instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. You see, going back to that voice, okay? And out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. This is all referring to his chariot. And they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burned them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived but only dust and smell of smoke. When I saw this, I was afraid. All right, so this is going to be the end goal. All right, so they can build up their nuclear arsenals, they can launch their ICBM tests, they can do all these things and brag about it, they can even come and put us to death. But guess what? The Lord is he's gonna avenge us, man. Okay, he is going to get revenge for us and for himself. Okay, so at the end of the day, man, this is a lose-lose situation for Esau. All right, and these heathens as well, because they're gonna get it. Okay, and this is a win-win situation for us, man, because regardless of where you go, Israel's still gonna come on top, man. Kwame Asharala. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, I know that was a lot, but hey, that was just the spirit, man. All right, so let me see what still like I wasn't really on the comment board like that, but let's see what brothers had here. Oh yeah. Nope. Khan, like Ahabamoth, Khan, like Reagan said at the UN in '84. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. He said basically if they were at war with each other and there was an outside threat, all right, coming, would they not all stop, all right, to fight against that outside threat? Okay, would they not all come together? Okay. Yep. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. Hey, like that's why when we read in Revelation 13:9, all right, let him that have an ear, let him hear. Okay, verse 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Well, guess what? The Yahushua is going to bring the force. He's going to bring the air force. You're going to have Leviathan, all right, which is going to be that navy, okay? And the Lord's going to raise up his men, all right, and change our bodies and give us spiritual power, and we're going to be that. Oh boy, it's not going to end well for you, Esau. All right, you're in a bad position. Okay, but with that, I hope this was edifying unto the elect. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachak Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.